Okay, so everyone listening, have you ever like stared at a ton of homework and it just feels like it's going to take forever to get through it all?
Totally.
But what if I told you there's a way to make studying feel less like a marathon and more like a series of like quick sprints?
Hmm.
That's where this thing called the Pomodoro technique comes in.
Yeah.
And it's all about working in these like really focused bursts and then giving your brain a break to recharge before you got to tackle the next like challenge.
It's really cool how much more effective we are when we work with our brains instead of trying to force it to focus for hours and hours. Like, think about
Ugh.
athletes.
Yeah.
Even in sports, they take breaks, right?
Yeah.
To catch their breath and kind of regroup. And like the same thing applies to studying.
Okay, so instead of trying to power through hours of homework, the Pomodoro technique says we should break it down into these intervals, like usually 25 minutes of like really focused work, followed by a 5-minute break. And then you repeat that a few times before taking a longer break.
Right.
But why is that better than just like pushing through it all at once?
So research from books like Brain Rules by John Medina actually shows that our attention starts to drift after about 10 minutes of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to force yourself to focus for an hour straight, you're kind of fighting against your brain.
Interesting.
It's like trying to run a race with a backpack full of rocks.
Oh, gosh.
You'll get there, but it's going to be a lot harder and you're going to be exhausted by the time you finish.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to like staring at the same page for a long time and the words just like stop making sense. It's like my brain just hits a wall.
Yeah. And what happens when we push ourselves past that point where we get tired? We end up remembering less,
Okay.
making more mistakes, and
Yeah.
feeling stressed and frustrated.
Yeah.
Cramming might seem like the solution, but it actually makes things worse in the long run.
So those breaks aren't about being lazy or anything. They're actually a way to help our brains work better.
Exactly. When we give our brains those like mini recharges, we're letting it process information more effectively and refresh our working memory.
Okay.
It's kind of like clearing out the RAM on your computer. Everything runs smoother and faster. And this is actually based on science.
Cool.
It's called the spacing effect. Books like Make It Stick, The Science of Successful Learning explain that when we space out our study sessions with breaks, we actually remember more information over time.
It's like giving your brain time to actually absorb the information
Yeah.
instead of like just shoving more and more in there without letting it sink in.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about our brains either.
Okay.
Breaks can be good for our bodies, too.
What?
The American College of Sports Medicine is always saying that sitting for a long time isn't good for us.
Wait, so the Pomodoro technique is like a secret trick to avoid that slumped over my desk feeling? I get that all the time.
Think about it. When you're studying for a long time, you're usually sitting in the same position for hours. That can make you feel stiff and sore and even tired.
Right.
But when you take those regular Pomodoro breaks, you're reminded to get up and move around. Maybe stretch or even dance a little.
That's awesome.
Do whatever you need to do to, like, shake off the stiffness.
That's so much better than feeling like a human pretzel by the end of the night.
Right. And when you come back to your studies after moving around a bit, you'll probably feel more alert and focused.
So it's like hitting the refresh button for your mind and your body.
Exactly. And here's something else. Those breaks can really help with stress and anxiety, which I know are big problems for students.
Oh, yeah, especially around exams.
The American Psychological Association and the National Institute of Mental Health have done a lot of research on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just knowing that a break is coming can make a big difference when I'm feeling overwhelmed.
It's like having a small reward to look forward to.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like you're stuck studying forever,
Yeah.
you can break it down into smaller, more manageable pieces.
So instead of feeling trapped, it's like I'm conquering these mini challenges and getting a little mental victory lap every 25 minutes.
That's a great way to think about it.
I like that.
And all those little victories can actually make you feel more motivated and confident.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling overwhelmed and stressed, you're training your brain to handle things calmly and efficiently.
One Pomodoro at a time.
Exactly.
So we've talked about a lot of things like why cramming isn't good and how breaks can help our brains work better and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling like way more ready to do my homework.
Awesome.
But what if I try the Pomodoro technique and it just doesn't work for me?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what if I still get distracted and feel overwhelmed and I just can't seem to remember the information?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
First of all, it's important to remember that, like, anything new, the Pomodoro technique takes some practice. And, like, no two people are the same. So what works for one person might not work for another.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It's about figuring out how to make it work for you. Sometimes it takes a little bit of experimenting to find what works best.
So how can I, customize the Pomodoro technique to make it work for me in the subjects I'm studying?
One of the best things about the Pomodoro technique is that it's super flexible.
Okay.
Remember those 25-minute work sessions and 5-minute breaks?
Yeah.
Those are just a starting point.
Okay.
You can totally change the intervals and breaks to fit your own rhythm and the kind of work you're doing.
So if I find that I start to get distracted after 20 minutes,
Yeah,
I could try shorter work sessions.
exactly. You could try 15 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or even 10 minutes on and 2 minutes off.
Oh, wow.
It's all about paying attention to your energy and how well you can focus and just being open to trying different things.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and you can also change your Pomodoro sessions to fit the specific subject you're working on. For example, if you're doing something hard like math problems that need a lot of thinking, you might need a longer work session, maybe 45 minutes or even an hour. But if you're reading a history chapter that has tons of information, you might need shorter breaks.
Gotcha. So it's not just about the time. It's also about what I'm actually doing during the work sessions, right?
Right.
I can't just stare at my textbook for 25 minutes and expect to magically learn everything.
Exactly. The Pomodoro technique gives you the structure, but you have to use effective learning strategies during those work sessions.
So what are some of those learning strategies?
One really good one is called active recall, which means you make your brain remember information instead of just reading your notes or textbook over and over.
So instead of just highlighting everything in my textbook, I should actually quiz myself and try to explain things in my own words.
Exactly. You could try summarizing the main points in your own words, or making flashcards,
Okay.
or even teaching the material to someone else, maybe even your pet, or just closing your book and trying to remember as much as you can.
It's like turning studying into a game.
Exactly. Another good technique is called spaced repetition, which means reviewing information at different times. So instead of cramming everything the night before a test, you spread out your study sessions over time and gradually increase the time between each review.
So it's like reminding my brain about the information before I forget it.
Exactly. It's like making the connections in your brain stronger each time you review.
This is making me realize that learning is like a whole science.
It really is.
I never knew that.
And the more you know about how your brain works, the better you can learn and remember information.
So we have active recall and spaced repetition.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other cool learning tips?
Another one that can help is called interleaving.
Okay, what's that?
It means mixing up different subjects during your study sessions.
So instead of doing math for an hour and then history for an hour,
Right.
I should try switching back and forth between them.
Exactly. It might seem weird, but research shows that interleaving can help you tell the difference between different concepts and use what you've learned in different situations.
So it's like a workout for my brain.
I like that.
Cool.
And finally, don't forget about elaboration.
Elaboration.
It means going beyond just memorizing facts and trying to connect new information to things you already know. You can do this by asking yourself questions or finding real-life examples or even making up stories to help you understand and remember.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
It's like making studying more creative.
Exactly. When you actively connect with the material, it becomes more meaningful and easier to remember.
I'm starting to see that studying doesn't have to be boring or a chore. It can be like an adventure.
That's the attitude.
Yeah.
The more curious and excited you are about learning, the more you'll enjoy it and the better you'll do.
I'm ready to get rid of my old study habits
Yeah.
and try all these new strategies.
Awesome.
But let's be honest, even with all these great techniques, it can still be hard to stick to a study plan. Life gets in the way. There are distractions everywhere.
Right.
And sometimes I just don't feel motivated.
Yeah.
How do I stay consistent and avoid procrastinating?
That's a really important point. Staying consistent is one of the hardest things when it comes to any kind of personal goal,
Okay.
whether it's studying or working out or eating healthy.
Yeah.
But there are things you can do to help yourself stay motivated and on track.
Okay. Tell me the secrets. How do I avoid giving up and wasting time when I should be studying?
One of the best things you can do is connect your study goals to your values and your big dreams for the future.
So instead of just thinking about passing the next test, I should think about how studying will help me get to where I want to be in life.
Exactly. Ask yourself, why is it important for me to do well in school?
Yeah.
What kind of future do I want? How is studying helping me learn the skills and get the knowledge I need to achieve those dreams?
It's like giving my study sessions a bigger purpose.
Yeah,
It's not just about checking things off a list. It's about building a future that I'm excited about.
that's it. And when you connect what you do every day to your values and your goals, it's easier to stay motivated even when things are tough.
That's really inspiring. But there's still going to be days when I'm just not feeling it.
Of course.
Like, I know why studying is important, but I'm tired, or I have a lot to do, and I just want to procrastinate.
That's totally normal. We all have those days. And one thing that helps is to break down your study goals into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Okay.
So instead of thinking about studying for a huge exam, you can focus on just getting through the next Pomodoro session.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how much easier it is to stop procrastinating when we just focus on that next small step.
Right.
Another helpful strategy is to create a reward system for yourself.
Oh, I love rewards.
Think about what motivates you. Maybe it's your favorite snack, or watching a show,
Yeah.
spending time with friends, or just taking a break to do something you enjoy.
It's like giving myself a little incentive to stay on track.
Exactly, and it doesn't have to be anything big or expensive. The key is to find something that really motivates you and use it to celebrate your progress and reinforce those good study habits.
This makes me realize that it's important to be nice to myself while I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about pushing myself until I burn out.
Right.
It's about finding a way to learn and grow that I can actually keep up with.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's about finding that balance between challenge and support effort and rest.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see the Pomodoro technique not just as a way to manage my time,
Uh-huh.
but as a whole new way to learn and grow as a person.
Awesome.
It's about working smarter, not harder, and creating a study system that helps me feel good and achieve my goals.
I love it.
But before we finish up for today, I have one more question.
Okay.
How do we know if the Pomodoro technique is working? Is it just about grades?
That's a really great question. And while grades can be one way to see if you're making progress,
Right.
I think true success with the Pomodoro technique is about much more than that.
So what are some other signs that I'm doing it right?
One important sign is being able to focus and concentrate better. Are you finding it easier to stay on task during those work sessions?
Yeah.
Are you less distracted? So
Yeah.
you're actually training your brain to be more focused.
Of course.
And that better focus can actually help you in other areas of your life too.
Well,
It can make you more productive and better at everything you do.
I like that.
Another sign of success is feeling less stressed and anxious.
Okay.
Do you feel less overwhelmed by all the work you have to do?
Yeah.
Are you feeling more calm and confident when you study?
Yeah.
So the Pomodoro technique isn't just helping you manage your time, it's also helping you manage your emotions better.
That's really helpful.
And when you feel more in control of your time and your emotions, you're better able to handle challenges and reach your goals.
This makes me realize that the Pomodoro technique isn't just about studying.
Right.
It's about learning those important life skills like focus and resilience and self-control.
You got it. And those skills will help you a lot, not just in school, but in your relationships, your future job, everything.
Wow. I never thought of it that way.
It's true.
We've talked about so much today why cramming is bad.
Yeah.
The importance of breaks, how to make the Pomodoro technique work for you, those awesome learning strategies,
Yeah.
and even how to stay motivated and avoid procrastination.
It's been quite a journey.
Before we finish up this awesome deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the most important thing you want our listeners to remember about the Pomodoro technique?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing is that the Pomodoro technique isn't just a trick to manage your time. It's a way of working with your brain, not against it.
Yeah.
It's about finding a way to focus, learn, and grow without burning yourself out.
I love that it's about recognizing that we can all learn and achieve our goals.
Yeah.
But it's important to do it in a way that respects our individual needs and helps us feel good.
Exactly. And I truly believe that the Pomodoro technique can make a big difference for anyone who's willing to try it out and make it their own.
Well said. Okay, I think it's time for us to take our final break.
Yeah.
But don't worry, we'll be back soon with more deep dives into the world of learning and productivity. Until then, we're back, and I am so ready to try out this Pomodoro technique.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? Like it's a whole new level of getting things done.
Totally.
Oh.
But before we wrap up, I want to give our listeners some tips on how to actually use it. So, like, what's the first thing someone should do if they want to try it out?
Just keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Just grab a timer, your phone, a kitchen timer, anything that counts down, and set it for 25 minutes.
Okay, and then what?
Pick one thing you want to focus on. Could be a chapter to read some math problems to solve or going over your notes.
Got it.
Whatever it is, make sure it's specific and not too big.
No, trying to do my whole to-do list in one Pomodoro.
Right. Once that timer starts, you got to really focus on that one task for those 25 minutes.
Mm.
No checking your phone, no social media, just that one thing.
Like those 25 minutes are just for my brain to focus.
Exactly. And then when the timer goes off, take a 5-minute break, get up, stretch, move around, grab some water, or just chill and let your mind wander.
Brain break?
And after 4 Pomodoros, take a longer break, like 15 or 20 minutes.
Okay.
That gives your brain a real chance to rest before going back to work.
This sounds pretty easy so far, but I know I might get distracted or want to give up when things get tough.
Oh, yeah.
Any advice on how to stay motivated and not give up?
Definitely remember all those learning strategies we talked about, like active recall, spaced repetition, and interleaving.
Yeah.
Those are your secret weapons to make those Pomodoros really count.
So it's not just about staring at my textbook. It's about finding ways to really engage with the material and make it stick, like turning studying into a game.
Exactly. And speaking of games, don't forget to track your progress and celebrate your wins. Keep track of how many Pomodoros you finish each day or week. It's really motivating to see those numbers add up.
It's like leveling up, but for studying.
Huh. I like that. And just like in a video game, rewards can be super motivating. Don't forget to celebrate your hard work. Could be something small like watching a show, having a snack, or hanging out with friends.
So those little rewards can help me stay on track.
Exactly.
This has been awesome. I'm feeling way more confident about tackling my schoolwork now.
That's great to hear. Remember, the Pomodoro technique is a journey. It's about trying things out, finding what works best for you, and getting better as you learn and grow.
It's been such an awesome exploration, and I think our listeners are ready to try the Pomodoro technique for themselves.
I hope so. It's such a useful technique, and I love hearing about how it helps people.
So to all our listeners out there, don't be afraid to experiment and make the Pomodoro technique your own. Change the intervals, the breaks, the activities. Find what works best for you and watch how much more you get done.
Exactly. Find your own rhythm and embrace the power of focus and taking breaks.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, but before we go, we want to hear from you. Have you tried the Pomodoro technique? What are your favorite tips and tricks? Share your thoughts, and let's keep this conversation going until next time. Happy studying.